here, and this time I'm gonna do something a little more different. And this time I'm gonna do my first ever top 10 video. And this one's gonna be all about my top 10 favorite heists in Payday 2. So for the rules for this list, I'll be only covering up the PS4 version of the game, well, alongside of course the Xbox One, since they both got the same number of heists, and I won't include any of the PC exclusive heists, but I will of course change a video for it later on once I, well, get something worked up for PC. And this is always based by my opinion, but if you guys have your own list of your own, you can always write down in the comment section down below, and I want to see your thoughts on it. And without further ado, let's get into my favorite heistings. Coming up on number 10 is going to be Diamond Store.
I got all these cities to smoke. Don't wait for me.
Now, you may be kind of surprised I put this one the very first thing on the list. Just essentially, this is the heist that people probably going to start with when they are going to become infamous. Just because how easy to level up, you can able to reach at least 40 levels if you're like a max 25 infamy.
Yeah, I was wondering.
And the reason I put this on the list is
what does the fuck say?
Definitely a lot more challenging than Jewelry Store, where Diamond Store is basically the same thing like Jewelry Store, except for it actually give it a little more of a difficulty spike. And by that, that means if you try to break the display cases, the alarm will be tripped. So you need to disable that alarm by using the civilians. I also think this one has the most jewelry compared to the other heists, when it comes to jewelry stores, which is a total of 18 bags, which is insane. And I have to also point out that this is also the first heist that is actually in a free update. Oh well, that's totally fine. And in terms of objective, it's pretty straightforward and totally fine.
Hey, sorry, everything is okay. Thanks for caring.
Of course, I never really play much of the loud version because it's a bit too much to struggle.
On the ground. Down. Down. Down.
Of course, if you're able to, and of course, you have to find a manager to get the key card so you can disable it. There's a plenty of loot to go around. So it's just one of those easy heists you can able to level up fast, and of course it's probably more effective if you have someone host a game on a death sentence difficulty, along with 4 players, and along with the stealth boost, you're able to get a lot more XP this way. Honestly, it's also one of the best beginner heisters to do as well. Very simple. And I love this heist for the beginners.
Museum, home of a priceless diamond. Let's do this.
Coming at number 9, I'm gonna put is the diamond. So yeah, so basically the first two on the list is the heist with the word diamond in it. And I do have to say, I think the reason for I put it at number 9 is it's definitely underwhelming for a paid heist. Well, on the PC side. Well, since this is free on console, mostly the PS4 and Xbox One, it's just not really bad. It's, I say, one of the more simplicity of the heist. Very simple to do in terms of stealth and loud with the objectives. And plus, it's also a really good idea for making your own builds. That way you can actually test out the build, since you don't have to worrying about carrying heavier bags to the other side of the map, and you don't have to worry about being in an open, where you fight mostly in close quarters with very chaotic of enemies from rappelling down through skylights, and there's a lot of loot to go around. So the both objectives are nice. I love the puzzle at the end with the floor tiles, and it also gives you, in the game, it's also very generous, as if you want to rework for the same hack again, where if you don't like the path path you get, which is too complicated and too complex, you can wait it out again and give you a new one. And the more time you restart it, a much more simple and better path you're gonna take. However, what makes it very low on the list is just the payout is just terrible. Without counting the diamond, which is actually the most valuable loot of all, the artifacts are worth crap, and also you can't even sprint with some of these, except for the painting ones. And also, the helicopter can only take four additional bags at a time, rather than usual can able to take the whole thing, which is not really the best. And in terms of how the story goes for the mission, we're supposed to secure a cursed diamond, and by the looks of it, it seemed weak touching. Guess what? It doesn't affect us in any way, shape, or form. So it didn't really harm us anything. The only thing we got out of it was a big payout.
Get down!
But anyway, it's a very simple heist and a very easy flow. Now on to the next one. Coming at number 8 is going to be the bomb Dockyard, which is, to me, definitely one of the better stealth heists, but it's also one of the more simplicity of the most.
Definitely make them have to regroup. Buys you more time.
Quiet as a grave.
Especially, it's very
Now,
challenging if
let
you're doing
me go
this
back
for
to
stealth,
sleep.
which I think this heist is better off doing than loud. Now, the reason I only had this so low, even though I have played for what, 41 times I complete this DSOD, mainly because a lot of these were stealth. I'm gonna say about 36 times I beat it in stealth. And the reason for it is just, it also has one of the easiest way to get a lot of good payout too. Normally it would take me to 20 to 30 minutes. And also this got received an update where they add additional more guards and workers on the highest difficulty, so it makes it even more challenging as it is. Another thing I like about the do in stealth is that you can actually do certain objectives as well, while still focus on the main one. So you can still find the conflicacy for the Moretta while you're searching out for key cards. And sometimes you may find crowbars around up, so you can able to loot stuff. And another thing I like about doing this in stealth, as compared to the other heist, the guards actually have a more set patrol route instead of having very unpredictable pathfinding. Makes it much more easier to predict, and as well easy to have some fun challenges with this. And of course, later heists kind of do this later on.
Hey, they're gonna bring in the big guns if you kill civilians.
Now, for the loud version, it's definitely not the best choice because, in terms, it's mostly a waiting simulator entirely in loud. Where in stealth, you actually have objectives to do the key card, and then find the conflicacy. But if you get that early on, you can be able to find the radio, and then you can be able to enter the GPS, and the boat, the Moretta, is on her way. While in loud, you're going to need to pop a flare, and you have to wait it out for a couple more minutes. And then once you get to C4, then you have to place on the doors or the doorway to free the Moretta. Then you have to do the hack, which you have to do another waiting. And only God has been nothing but waiting quite a lot. Where in stealth, all you have to do is just one time, and that is the boat. Moving to Dock 3B. But in loud, you had to wait for the flare to arrive with the C4. So that's another waiting time. And then the computer, oh boy, you had to wait it out till the hack is finished. So that's two things you had to wait for a long ass time. And then you had to wait for the boat to finally move, which is the exact same one. So you had to wait for 3 things in loud as opposed to 1 in stealth. And another thing why I think stealth is a little better, I think the map flow fits way better for stealth than it is for loud. just basically based on my opinion alone. And to be honestly clear, I really think this heist would have been better off as a stealth-only heist as opposed to a mix of both. But there's nothing wrong with that. After all, I do like to play a bit of both, but I prefer the more on the stealth side. Coming at number 7, it is going to be Boiling Point. So this is basically one of the more first heists that is actually take place out of the US. So we have mainly in Russia, which is actually kind of cool for a change, as well as fighting off the Russian for once, as opposed to American cops. So you're more fighting off Russian mercenaries, which honestly I am all down for. And I also love how it's set place in a more cold winter or a more snow area. It kind of reminds me how I'm playing a little bit of the campaign mission from COD 4, especially in the Act 3 with the ultimatum. Honestly, one of my favorite missions of all time. So this gives me a little bit of a nostalgia right there. I also like the fact that the objective is a little more different. In terms, you start off the mission by parachuting out of a helicopter or by a plane. But of course, it's not always awesome to experience when you're trying to parachute out of a plane, because most times you're just gonna fall to your death and you go in custody before you even touch the ground, or before you get your guns up. Also, I like the objective inside, and plus that, in terms of securing the bag, now you can actually bag bodies in Loud, which is very unique, and plus it plays a more important role with the body bags compared to it in stealth, to some degree. Especially you actually get more money this way if you're able to scan all 4 bodies inside the laboratory. And I also like to hear the Russian lines too. And even some of them, I probably understand what they're saying as well. Plus, I'm kind of really no stranger when it comes to fighting the Russian AI, as I pretty much did a lot of times during Modern Warfare and the Cold Wars. However, I do say, evident to a little bit downside with this, is the way you are supposed to leave. Especially if you had to deal with the pesky snipers outside of the laboratory in the windmill, which is going to be very challenging to do. But if you can get through this by heart, and very easily, hell, this is also one of the few heists you can actually complete this without going down never once. And I did it with the Armor Perk deck, Anarchist, and of course, Stoic. But it's also one of the more easiest to do, and I had no problem with dealing with this, including a pacifist run I did with this, so it makes it even more easy. So that's pretty much I cover up here, so I'm gonna have to roll blast my way to number 6. Coming up at number 6, it is going to be Scarface Mansion. Now, I really like the look of this heist, and I really think the music is the best too. Well, in my opinion, this has the best soundtrack in the entire game.
Now, this is getting interesting.
And also, the both tactics for stealth and loud are also very fun as well. As for the soundtrack itself, well, of course, this voice not everybody. Good old Lord, Simon Volkman. And I like both of the heists for their reasons. One, when I play a bit of the music in the stealth version, it kind of reminds the instruments they use. It reminds me a lot from the origins from the COD zombie series. Especially at the part where you reach the excavation site.
Got it.
And it plays that similar instrument. I'm not really sure what type of music it plays, but it's just so memorable. Well, as for the heist itself, I think it's kind of, I would never expect to play in a Scarface Mansion in the video game. Well, the first time I ever played it was actually back in Vice City, GTA Vice City.
That's it.
Now I can tell you right off the bat, for stealth, I actually enjoyed the stealth. I love how very breathtaking that you can actually kill the guards without needed of pagers. At first, the outside guards don't have pagers, while inside guards they do. So it gives you a little bit of mix of variety in terms of how you deal with the tactics, especially if you want to. And even though you have all these, a lot of bodies and you have many body bags, even as a solo player, you won't have enough body bags to cover up everyone outside. So it makes it more interesting. And of course, as for the loud version, it's definitely quite very similar to the other. Of course, you do have a little bit of a boss fight, well, more like a mini boss fight, when you deal with the SWAT turrets, especially on the death sentence difficulty where they deal with 3 as opposed to 1 or 2. In terms of the payout, it definitely has really good payout. So I definitely would advise to secure all of it in stealth. While loud can be very challenging as well. I do think the colors for this map is also very bright and very recognizable, and actually stands out compared to the rest of the heists on the list. But the reason is that only at number 6 is mainly it just be how challenging it can be to do in stealth for the more casual players, especially if they want to deal with it. And as for the objective to escape, especially on loud, is also very not the best, because you had to deal with guards and with actually cops outside and hopping over walls, especially if you had to secure it to the van to the spawn point. Another thing that's actually a little bit annoying I had to deal with is, since the guards, the pagers, basically any guards in general, cannot be dominated, and they have lots of health, so it makes sure you don't want to screw the pooch. Though it's definitely the more challenging heist, but it's also not the easiest heist to do either. It's a somewhere mixed well in between. However, the more time you play, the better you are at the Scarface Mansion. And I also don't like the fact there's really way too many snipers that pinpoint you out. So if you don't know where the sniper spawns, you're mostly gonna get wrecked. Coming at number 5 is going to be the First Row Bank. Now I want to really make this rule to be strictly for the maps in Payday 2, but I wouldn't mind to throw a little bit of the classic heist into the mix. If I had to pick one classic heist for this list, it's gotta be the one that basically started it all, and basically what got me into the Payday series as a whole. And honestly, this is one of the best bank-looking maps I have ever played. But I also like how they kind of mix it up a little bit for the Payday 2 mechanics. Where now you can actually stealth in this game, where before you couldn't really do that in the loud version.
Hey,
They're gonna come down harder on us if you kill civilians.
Or you can't do that in the first game.
I don't have to remind you, every hostage is an asset.
it's here.
Loud key cards.
This is it.
And of course, it's very classic. It has everything from Payday to Heist,
All right
including
now.
the
This is getting
overdrill,
interesting.
where you can get at least like 70 plus gold, which is very long to do, but if you have 4 trusted friends, it makes it much more easier, especially if you can have one who can actually do the code perfectly. And of course, I love how they also have the remix of the soundtrack as well. So we have here is the Gunmetal Grey 2015. That's basically the year that's released for this heist, although we got this in 2016. say is definitely, it's always nice to play this every once in a while, and this definitely holds a very key place in my heart, as it basically is how I got started all.
On the ground.
And also for the stealth version, it's actually pretty damn good. I like how they mix it up a little bit, which add a few cool objectives, which makes it more interesting. And honestly, I would legit, and hell, even there's someone actually made a mod out of this map for killing floor 2. And it's a damn shame that the console would not have that, unless, you know, Tripwire made it as a quote-unquote official map. Honestly, I could be heaven if that's ever gonna happen. I would be totally in heaven if they report this type of map in Killing Floor 2, and I will love 100% everything they do.
Commissar's dug in, tied us a tick.
Covering at number 4, it is going to be Hotline Miami. Honestly, I was a little bit also surprised about this collaboration as well. But the part of me, I think the map flows very well for Payday 2 standard, especially I played the first Hotline Miami game. Which, I think it worked pretty well. It's just that the character, basically Jack, to me, doesn't really fit well as a heister. After all, he's not really robbing banks or pull off any heists. All he did is going on a murder spree.
Get them.
And he gets money just for what? Killing people? Or since he likes to hurt people? I have no clue. Anyway, the heist is really fun. I love the map style. Very close quarters. Also a little bit of medium range as well. And I think the best part about it is the variety of extra loot you can get. Such as there's 2 money sears, and you can also get some in the trunk. So there's a lot more. Also, this heist has a little bit more of an interaction with the environment, which I do enjoy, especially opening trunks in cars. Able to do a meth lab, which you can actually make more. And of course, you could go for the gas station.
Put him up.
As for day 2, well, it gets even crazier. This is where speed running is very important, especially if you want to reach the commissar apartment and secure more coke as you can. And also it has a really good payout too if you manage to secure all the loot. And yes, the day 2 of the labyrinth maze between the 4 floors can be very confusing at first, and basically you will get lost to it. But of course, the more time you play it, the better it gets. So it just makes it a lot more enjoyable. Also, the soundtracks in this game is also amazing, especially Evil Eye. I love Into the Freights. The stealth version is definitely unique. Well, the anticipation, which is this one right now. Oh, that guitar riff. My god, it fits so well. It basically tells me, get the freaking cover now. That's what the anticipation phase has always been. And of course, the loud music is definitely the best part. And to me, I think it's even the good music too. To use when you're doing cook-off, or at least a long duration of the heist. Also, any perk deck can work as well, and it's very versatile, and the map flow just wins out perfectly. And it's probably one of the best crossovers in terms of the map. That works. Even though I did not, even though my anticipation is very low, thank God it works. Coming up for the bronze medal for number 3 is going to be Big Oil. Probably one of the more difficult heists at the time when it was released with pro jobs. But here, now they remove it, now it's definitely one of the more interesting heists. And mostly probably due to the fact that you're actually more rewarded in stealth than you are in loud. obviously, if you can't do the tactic quickly in time, as you can see, they burn one of the intel that could be more useful, either a key card or codes. Also, the payout is really huge with this one. It's also one of my favorite heists to at least speedrun, at least on overkill difficulty, so that way I can get at least one safe, and don't have to worry about the extra 3 guards outside. I also like the day 2, which is a lot more fun. I also have a, well, it may sound ridiculous here, but I actually enjoy the Dr. Miserable achievement, or I like to call the Dr. Miserable challenge. And I did this twice on the PS4, one with a regular of doing on Death Wish, and then I have, well, apparently I triggered one guy who says, real men play DSOD. So I ignored that, moron. And so I decided to make it a much more, well, pulling up my own game and doing the whole thing, the Dr. Miserable on DSOD in a pacifist, so it was definitely challenging, but I had fun doing it. And of course, I also did Dr. Miserable on PC, so it's pretty damn good. So I like that you have to find clues around the scientist's house for day 2. I think the heist worked pretty out well. And honestly, the scientist's house is probably one of the best looking house or mansions I have ever played with. It kind of reminds me of a lot of stuff I go to my dad's.
Got it.
Nice clean air away from modern buildings in a nice countryside. Of course, the stealth version works well pretty well as well. It's very unique that you had to kill the bikers as opposed to, you know, avoiding guards. So that's what makes the stealth enjoyable. Especially now you can actually restart the heist, which makes it even more fun. But I kind of miss the fact that the prototypes were removed, so rice and pepperonis, Big Oil being the more tougher heist on the list. Alright, now we're on to number 2, and for the runner-up. Coming for runner-up and taking the second place medal, the silver medal, it is Firestarter. So, of course, I had to include at least a 3-day heist on the list. Well, I don't know if I should, but still, Firestarter is still one of my favorite heists to do at launch. And it's still my favorite one to do. Now, I do like to play this the day 1 in stealth on overkill difficulty, but trying to do it on at least above is a lot more challenging. And one of the few times I just don't like it. Mainly because I probably lose too much of my brain cells trying to repeat this heist over and over again and try to complete it as my 4th, or at least the 2nd time. And it's a bit too much for me. So you're better off just going guns blazing for the day 1. While day 2 and 3 are stealthable. And I'd say day 2 is also one of my favorite ones as well. I love that you go travel to an FBI headquarters and steal a server. Seriously, you're basically fighting the FBI in their own territory.
Good luck, people.
Who wouldn't love fighting your enemies in their territory? It's like you're fighting Russians in Russia. One of the beauties of it about it. Also, it has really good payout that you can go as well if you're able to secure all the weapons in day 1, including the money. As well as secure any loot in the evidence room, including the weird goat. Then followed by day 3, which is sadly is just bank heist. Too bad it's not a original map, but bank heist is also my favorite one. Of course, I would probably include on the list, so that's why I couldn't include bank heist as a standalone heist in this list because, well, if I'm going to include Firestarter, I had to include it with the bank heist in it as well. So I guess it's a mix between the two. The only difference is between bank heist, regular one, and Firestarter is the vault inside. In bank heist, your objective is to steal wherever the content inside the vault, whether it be money, gold, or deposit boxes. While Firestarter, you're only gonna have to deal with burning the money. But I do have to say, this is one of the more unique heists to do in stealth for day one, and actually a blast to do the whole way. I just really wish they would have, you know, make an improvement for stealth for day one, adding a body bag case asset, and actually give you a stealth bonus. I would think a 10% stealth bonus for this for sure, and make it a lot more enjoyable. But nah, I do actually like the extra challenge to go for, or at least try to warm up. After all, that's what made Firestarter Day 1 have his basically quirk in the first place. And that's basically much it I talked about for these heists. Now before I'm going to pick the number one spot, I will gonna have a few honorable mentions. Alright, I have about 3 honorable mentions here. And the first one is going to be Shadow Raid. The only reason, with being, of course, a stealth-only heist, why isn't this one on the list? Well, mainly just because I probably played it quite so much, and plus I've been using the same pattern to get to the security room by just taking a ladder. And I picked this one as the best route, in my opinion. I mean, I could try to give the other routes a try, but I know at the end, it's not going to be the same result. I mean, I may spend a little bit more time, and most of the time I can get all 24 bags out, including with the pre-planning. It takes about 30 minutes. And of course, I played this 58 times, so that is insane. The second honorable mention I'm gonna have, it is Rats from Hector. Now this was before cook-off was a thing. I love the way that you had to stay if you want to make more, and plus Myth gives you a lot of good payout. And doing day 2 is also a little bit challenging if you're doing it stealth by killing all the gangsters, which I definitely had a struggle during my stream, but I do have to say it's still pretty fun and very enjoyable. And funny enough, the whole able to get the codes without doing the trade is actually my very first video on this channel, and it's been what, 1 or 2 years ago, so I'm not sure what day I got it, but it's such a big milestone from there, how I made at least 100 subs or 108 subscribers. Still, thank you for that. And as for the final, like, actually I have an extra honorable mention. I know I say free, but it's just really hard to make a big list of my favorite heists because there's so many to enjoy. The third honorable mention is going to be Framing Frame. I love to do all 3 days in stealth, and it definitely gives you the best stealth bonus. And when you have Art Gallery as a standalone heist, day 2 is pretty easy to do. Day 3 is a lot more enjoyable. It just sucks that you had to go through the other day to get to day 3 enjoyment. The only other enjoyment that you can able to get this in a more shortcut is by doing Crime Spree. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people are not going to want to play Crime Spree just for the sake of playing the Senator's apartment. And fourth and final honorable mention I'm going to give, it is going to be Hudson Breakout. And I think the biggest one here, why, is it's Hoxton. It's probably one of the most recognizable and the most important heists to this day in 2014, especially the Crime Spree 2014. And it probably didn't help that I played this.
I have arranged for your former colleague to have a retrial. However, this trial is a farce.
About
it is an excuse to
400
get him into
to
a position
500 times in total.
This will take place at the courthouse.
Or perhaps even more, but at the time my file was kind of corrupted, and that was the heist I played the most. So that's a big deal, but I also love how they give it a Christmas treatment on PC during 2019 and last year's being 2020, where they actually give it a Christmas theme, which I actually enjoy. I just really wish I could switch between the two for the weather. I really wish there was a weather setting for the heist to play either day or night, or rainy or snowy. It may not be, you know, original, but at least it gives it a little more flavor to the heist, a little more replay value. Alright, It is time for the number one spot that takes the gold medal. And finally, for number one that takes the gold is the big bank. I mean, is it obvious, or whoever saw this coming? Yes, I'm definitely a big bias when it comes to the big bank, because anytime I saw this during the release of mostly a little bit of gameplay, I was jaw-dropped. The scenery of this. This literally make the first world bank look like a freaking toy store. Hell, even the dentist even quoted that on his own trailer. Everything about it is big, and it's really an improvement. And holy God, I love it. I think the music is good too, especially the loud version. And another thing I also enjoy is probably what made it even more enjoyable is for both tactics for loud and stealth. It's also very fun to do both. But the best part is pre-planning. This when they introduced during the alongside with the dentist, and honestly, ever since he said that our job during the election day was poor planning, mainly we only had assets at the time. Doing with pre-planning, it makes it even more enjoyable. With pre-planning, you can actually tackle on with any approach you want, the way you do in stealth or loud. Are you focused on stealth? Place some spy cans, key cards, or even a poisonous cake to reduce the number of guards. If you're planning to do shit loud, try have reduced time to make it shorter, so you can actually do things much more quickly. Or you can actually place some doctor bags or ammo bags.
Civilians can do a lot of good for you as long as you got them under control.
And it's definitely just really one of my favorite heists, and plus, hell, this is even my favorite heist to do. This is also my favorite heist to do in Holdout, and honestly one of the best ones too. Which is just even better. I also think the map flow is excellent. And in terms of the way you escape is also cool too. Instead of just securing the loot by a van, or mostly in the same spot, you can actually secure it either by bus stop, C4 tunneling, or using the elevator trick. It's so much, there's more replay value, and plus they even buffed the favors in Big Oil. Big Bank.
Camera, look out.
And the reason for it is mainly just because people keep using the bus stop a lot. So there's really not much variety in terms of escaping. So they actually reduce the number of favors in terms of for the thermite trick. So of course makes it more enjoyable. Well, that's basically it for the list of my top 10 heists in Payday 2. I know there's quite a lot of them out there, but making this list is really not that simple as it is, and it's very hard because there's just so many to choose from. After all, people may have different ones as well. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time, farewell and have a wonderful day, everyone.